So hi, I'm Dan. I'm one of the co-founders of BearCover, and we're focused on providing excellent nighttime care for your aging loved ones in nursing homes everywhere. So what's the problem? Well, really simply, less staff at night perform less checks, which leads to more accidents in facility for your aging loved ones. What you may already know is that nursing homes, like the rest of the healthcare sector, are finding it difficult to hire and retain staff at nighttime. But what you may not know is that actually at nighttime, most accidents happen inside of residents' rooms where no one is around to see them. And it can often be hours before accidents or incidents or issues are discovered. There are already existing in-room sensors on the market, but these are often rejected due to the staff overhead of maintenance, the capex of installing these sensors into rooms and ceilings if they're good ones, and then the limited value they have for most residents who aren't necessarily high risk and require continuous monitoring. That's why BearCover has developed a robot that is able to see through closed doors from the corridor and send alerts directly to caregivers. With the same number of staff, nursing homes can now perform 10 to 20 times the number of checks on the residents without ever having to install a single device inside their private bedrooms. So how does it work? Well, basically, we combine an ultra-wideband radar sensor with a mobile autonomous robot, which allows us to see through closed doors and send push notifications to caregivers. We're able to see visual detections of people who are wandering corridors at nighttime, as well as detect walking when people are wandering or walking to and from the bathroom behind closed doors. And in the future, we think we can extend this technology to in-bed and out-of-bed detection, on the ground or fall detection, as well as too many occupant detection if there are multiple people in a room. So it's pretty simple to use. A smartphone application starts and stops the robot, returns it to the charger, and sends the alerts to the caregiver. We average a check every 15 to 20 minutes. So it's about 3 to 4 checks per hour. And in all of our test facilities, caregivers support the device as very, very helpful in their nightly activities in monitoring residents. So how do we differentiate ourselves from the competition? Well, we do this in 2 key ways. First of all, we require no in-room installation. This is super good for implementation, makes it very, very easy for nursing homes. And second of all, we cover all residents by default. Yeah, so a lot of solutions will focus on quote unquote high risk residents, but we actually cover everyone as standard. So this is a huge advantage versus traditional systems. So team is super important. And as a team, we've worked together for over 6 years. Most recently, we've actually lived and worked at nighttime in our nursing home clients' facilities to learn more about their problems. I won't go into too much detail. You can ask in the Q&A, but we have all of the relevant B2B, SaaS, enterprise sales experience, as well as mechanical and software engineering to make these devices a reality. And our clients think so too. So we're working with some of the largest nursing home providers here in Germany, actually some of the largest in Europe, which together have over 4,000 homes in their network alone. Yeah, so our business model is quite simple. We charge 399 euros per robot per month for an estimated ARR of about 20,000 euros per facility, and it costs us between 2,000 and 3,000 euros to make a device. In the future, we think we can get closer to about 40,000 euros ARR per facility and bring that cost down as we look to scale the devices. This gives us nice operating margins that we can ride on into the future and continue to deliver our service elsewhere. So we see this as a large and growing market as the world ages. We primarily target nursing homes in excess of 80 beds. So these are larger nursing facilities with a higher OPEX spend on staff. 10% of this market in Germany, we estimate to be about 30 million euros recurring, with about 20% of the 2 largest European markets, that's Germany and France, close to 80 million, 90 million euros recurring each year, with our eyes firmly set on the US expansion in the future. Our roadmap and milestones are pretty straightforward. We're in the pre-seed stage now. We want to stay very lean, build out our sales pipeline, and convert our existing pilots to full rollouts to show that conversion event. And then in seed, we want to work in Berlin with a small number of pilot homes, perfecting the device and working towards product market fit before expanding city by city and then going international. We are raising 400,000 euros to sign up to deliver our service to 5 facilities and sign up at least 10 more. We're looking for BAs with a healthcare, hardware, or insurance focus. We've already closed 100,000, including a small ticket from Earlybird, which is one of Germany's leading VC firms. And if there are any investors or people interested in robots or nursing homes, feel free to reach out. I'll put my details in the chat. Thank you very much, and I welcome your questions.
Thanks, Daniel. That was a great pitch there. Thank
you so much.
A little bit dystopian, using the robots to take care of the old people, but at the same time, if it's helping provide better service because they're understaffed, then I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I agree too. Yeah, for sure.
One thing I'm curious, what attracted you to this space? Because it's not by any means a sexy space when it comes to typical startups. What brought you here, and is that a challenge that you have with the business or with investors?
Yeah, so that's sort of a long question. A couple of years ago, myself and my co-founder, or one of my co-founders, met building a nursing care startup. So we actually were tackling a similar problem in the hospital space, which was supporting nurses in the handover of patient notes and information. And what we learned there was that kind of an influx of older people was putting the nursing home system or the hospital system under pressure. Flash forward a couple of years, how we got into this space was we were originally building devices for the home. Then Corona hit, and we thought of our elderly relatives and the people we knew that were cut off from their services. And then we met a nice guy who runs a nursing home, and we were already deep into this project. And he said to us in a meeting, he said, I have this problem where at nighttime my residents fall or will wander off and fall, and I'll find them 3, 4, 5 hours later. And it's like very upsetting for the family, for the relatives, for my staff, and for our management. It's a huge problem. Could you do anything to fix this? And we were kind of in the right place at the right time with the right experience to then really pursue this problem. I just want to pick up on the end of that question, which was like, is it a challenge for us? I think that people often say you need to have expertise in an industry because that's often the easiest way to really understand the problems. There is often another approach, which is you just have to be really sure that you actually don't know anything. Yeah, so like in our case, we worked overnight in facilities. We shadowed staff on multiple nights. We even lived on site for 2.5 weeks working with the nighttime staff. So if you aren't an expert in your space, you really have to be receptive to the teachings that they have and really work extra hard to kind of push away all of the assumptions that you have, if that makes sense.
No, that definitely makes sense. And you guys, you've made some pretty good traction despite being pretty resource limited. And from what I understand, pretty much working out of your apartment as the office, as the home, as everything. How have you hustled to get to here? And how do you go from here to there? What's the scale up strategy? What's the growth strategy?
Sure. So how we hustled to here was pretty straightforward. Yeah. So we had like, let's say 100K of our own money to put into a startup. And the first thing we said is we have to cut burn. Yeah. So then we applied for a number of grants that were open to German-based startups. So we were incubated by a university here, which reduced our burn. And we raised a small round now and are continuing to raise to carry us into the future. So basically where we go from now is that we are slowly rolling out with our pilot facilities. So we have one live. They've been using it every night now for about 6 months. We do a second one at the end of this month, and then we do a third one now at the end of May. So we're basically building up our pilots, collecting all of the data and figuring out the return on investment for these facilities in our case. And we're going to use that as basically traction to show to investors, hey, look, this product is loved by this strange user group, and we've been able to acquire them. So our plan is really stay lean, stay completely focused on the customer journey and on what we have to do for our end users, if this makes sense.
Makes sense. And what's the best case scenario? What's the to the moon? How do you sell this to investors?
Well, it really depends on the investor. Yeah. So like the to the moon in our case is that, if you step outside of the healthcare industry for a moment, or even in the healthcare industry, it's pretty clear that the future of care, but either home or institutional care, is connected. Yes, there's a huge space for connected care devices to enter this sector, whether they're robots or otherwise. We think there's a huge place for a company that basically has a reputation for deploying devices that support staff. So that's one model. The second is then integrating other devices in a safe way that can continue to support staff and people receiving care. So we see a lot here. And then like the to the moon, the like crazy, 1% swing for the fences is like, if you believe that robotics is a technology that will take off in the next, 10, 15, 20, 30 years, then I'd be betting on companies that have figured out how to perfectly integrate software and hardware, as well as figure out distribution strategies and service models for tackling these sort of B2B markets. Yeah, I think that robotics will be B2B before it goes B2C. And our like 1% shot is that we can continue to grow as a robotics company into eventually other verticals that are, maybe even far away from the vertical that we're sitting in now, if this makes sense.